Mambition. Is that Mexican wave? Mambition? First and Mambition, I think.
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm joining in.
Getting myself in the mood, ladies.
Yes. Guys, it's going to be a party today. We've got Sarah in the building.
Yeah, baby.
Hi, welcome, Sarah. I'm Alex.
And this is Tiffany.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We've got, as Tiffany says, a great guest for you today. So we've got Sarah Jepson, who's a survivor turned thriver and co-founder of 6 Degrees, a community empowering women in their personal and professional growth. After rebuilding her life from the ground up, overcoming trauma, restoring her health, and redefining her purpose, Sarah is passionate about helping other women create meaningful change. She believes every woman has the potential to thrive when supported by the right people, tools, and mindset. Through 6 Degrees, Sarah creates space for women to connect, share experiences, and step into their power with confidence. And we're recording this on a very significant anniversary for you, aren't we, today, Sarah?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
So, and Sarah's also mum to 2 girls, is that right?
I am indeed. Well, yeah, an adult now. I can't believe it. So an 18-year-old and a 15-and-a-half-year-old. So, yeah.
Wow.
Time flies, Time flies.
It certainly does. And I think I love that, the fact that obviously today is a significant day, or having this conversation. And obviously you've posted about this on LinkedIn as well. Is it exactly 5 years? That moment must have felt like, looking back for you, Alex, Sarah, it must have felt like the ending and the beginning. Can you take us back there, just in your own sort of version and as much as you want to share?
Yeah, so this time 5 years ago, I was on a coastal walk with a friend, and I knew it was imminent that I would be hearing the outcome of the final kind of like court case and legal proceedings regarding custody of my 2 girls, Erin and Isla. And I remember being on this coastal walk, and you can imagine the reception and everything like wasn't perfect. So I was like, oh my goodness, maybe I should have just sat at home. But when like something's looming over you and you're like, the last thing I want to do is be sat still. I needed to be moving. I wanted to be in nature. Yeah, I needed like a healthy distraction, but hadn't contemplated being in Cornwall, that might not have been the best reception in terms of phone and signal. But on that walk, kept checking my phone, and then finally managed to get this email, and then very shortly afterwards, a telephone call from my legal representative, Norman. And it was the most surreal moment to finally have those words ushered, that you've done it, we've got it, it's been granted. And it was almost like an out-of-body experience, because it had been such a desire and a longing for like over a decade of legal battles to get me where I was. So it was like jubilant, but almost disbelief, like every emotion I think I felt all in about 30 seconds. So I probably looked a little bit crazy on this cliff path, like jumping for joy, then crying. It was just an overwhelming moment to, as I put in my post, and the words that always ring true was, finally saving my babies. That's how, no matter how old your kids are, they are your babies. And that's how it felt to me. And it was such a beautiful moment, but also kind of, like you said, Tiffany, a kind of like a complete newness of, well, what does that look like for us as a family? I had been 50-50. It was now 100%, which I already had, by the way, because of some situations that had happened with their dad, and he was in prison. But having that finality, if you will, for the children, for them to think, right, that's it, mum's got me. Like, but mum is now everything. Mum's good cop, bad cop, like everything in between. And it was a newness, but I think if anything, the trauma that I have lived through, I guess there was an acknowledgement within myself that I am the best person to lead us through this journey, because I'd been on so much of a journey myself in terms of healing and all of those things, that I felt, yeah, this is going to be like like buckle up. This is going to be tough. This is going to be challenging. This is going to be, unprecedented territory. But I guess I had this knowing and feeling that I'm down for whatever comes next.
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm going to do my best to give the girls the nurturing, the love and the stability and the calm that they deserve and need. And it was at a time when, it was just unprecedented times, like COVID, like everything was in the mix. It was a shit show, like everything, every slice of normality had already been torn up. So this just felt like another thing to kind of manage and deal with. And as I put in my post, like, I feel like the timing of this and getting the news really was beautiful, because we were forced to be in a house together because of COVID. We were forced to sit in the trauma, the news, and deal with it together as a unit. There wasn't going to school and breaking up the day, there wasn't that routine. So we really were thrown into this completely wild experience, for want of a better expression. And it's just like, I feel one of the lucky ones. I really, truly do. Statistically, I am. The children were one of the lucky ones. So I feel utterly humble and blessed and fortunate to be in a position where I wake up today, 5 years later, with my children in the best shape possible. So it's a very... it's a remarkable day to be doing this podcast, really, because it's a very significant day for us.
And I guess you can see how far you've come in that 5 years as well, as like a unit, and, having to do that, even if you were already doing that by yourself, having to have that officially all on you from that point forward.
I think it was really liberating, actually, because when we were co-parenting, and by the way, I only ever agreed to that because of the threat of violence upon me, that it was like, look, that was the lesser of two evils. It was either, who knows what could happen to me if I don't agree to what this person wants. So when the final conclusion was that, the kids are with me all of the time, it was so liberating, because it was like, I can, and I use the word control not in a negative way. I could control the environment. I could control what the girls were exposed to. I could control what they ate, and I don't mean that in a controlling sense, but I was able to fully influence them, rather than having this trauma that was, they would have an unraveling week with me, and then they would go back to their dad, and it would be trauma fueled, and then I'd be almost trying to help them recover in the week they were with me. It's like that cycle that just kept going. So being able to kind of have this bond and this unity and this cohesion was just so wonderful. But it took time, right? It wasn't an overnight thing. And I was going from living a life of 50-50 to 100%, which obviously I wanted, but that then meant that I didn't have, I don't want to say freedom, because that sounds like the wrong word, but there was less ability for me to kind of go out and be me and
of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I get that. And I think that's always been the challenge in motherhood, isn't it? It's this idea that, it's very sacrificial, but at the same time, there's a part of you that you need to reserve so that you can be the mother that they need. So, for example, when I go to work or when I try to exercise, my kids say, "Oh, mommy, don't go, mommy, don't do this." But I know when I work, work builds my confidence in a way. And I know that the mom that they'll need will need to be confident, will need to be an advocate for them. I'll have to go to school at some point and stand up for them in front of teachers and their teachers, and I need to look them in the eye. It's the things often that you do outside of your kids that makes you the type of mother that they'll need in challenging times. But it's this push and pull, because they want you there all the time, or they think, like I'm minor 2 or 4, they need me eyeball to eyeball like all day. But thank you for sharing that, because I think, it takes strength to be open. It takes strength to kind of reach where you have. And like I said, it's also the freedom comes with the responsibilities. I mean, is it, I don't want to quote Superman, is it with great freedom comes great responsibility? So
With great
there's
power comes
but
great responsibility.
yeah, there's always kind of two sides of a coin, isn't it? It's always like this kind of, ups and down. But thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I'd love to hear about that transformational journey you've been on, because I think, I mean, we don't know who's listening, right? If someone's listening, they're in it right now, or they coming out of it, or they are, trying to figure it out. Is there anything that you would say about how you were able to kind of walk through that for yourself?
Yeah, I think the biggest mission that I'm on personally, to your point, Tiffany, is to really demonstrate and show to every woman, regardless, look, it doesn't have to be domestic abuse. It could
Yeah.
be anything that you have been through that's trauma related or that's been hard to go through. And let's face it, that's 100% of humanity. We've all had something happen, whether it's a redundancy, a miscarriage, trouble conceiving, whatever it is, there will be something, some hardship that we've all had to go through. The biggest thing that I want to advocate for is our past does not have to dictate our future and our present. But some of the biggest lessons that I had to go through was to realize that I could be the biggest advocate for myself, or I could be my biggest sabotage. And what I mean by that is it's not even one moment. There was like these many moments of realization of, okay, so I've left my marriage, therefore I should be happier, I should be thriving, I should be doing X, Y, Z. But actually I was repeating patterns. I was dating the same type. I was recreating the same patterns because I hadn't kind of learned that I was addicted to drama cycles, that I was avoidant, I was choosing the wrong people deliberately, and all of these things. So the biggest kind of clarity moment that really fast tracked everything for me, and I'm trying to get this on a t-shirt. If you don't like how the cake tastes, change the fucking ingredients.
Oh.
And the short version of that is nothing changes if nothing changes. So if I keep complaining about my life, that I'm not happy, that I'm not thriving, really I am the one that's responsible for steering my ship or for driving that car or whatever expression you want to use. So the reality was I had to change, and that was really frightening, but really exciting. So that was even things like having an awareness around my ability to choose the right partner. So that was not going for the same toxic, abusive traits. I also grew up in a domestic abuse household. So I literally am a walking cliche. Like I went and found my dad, basically. That's what I did. I dated and married the same kind of guy. So it was like, hang on, I need to unlearn or do like different patterning. And what does that look like? And how do I get supported? So there was therapy, Reiki, spirituality, all different types of things that allowed me to truly navigate away from that type of relationship. And actually part of that biggest thing was learning to love myself, to value myself, and to not be seeking external validation, and to know that I have everything within me to validate myself and to truly love myself. From things to then like sobriety, I was numbing my life I was addicted to booze, not like as in AA, but I was that classic ladette binge drinker where, hey, like drown my sorrows. Oh, there's something to celebrate. Oh, let's have two bottles of wine. I was that girl who I normalized blackouts, memory loss. Like I thought everybody had that with booze. I now know that is not the case and that's not normal. But I would choose to do that. I would choose to eat, and I was addicted to sugar. I was addicted to high intensity workouts. I was basically punishing, grueling, numbing in every way, shape, and possible. I would binge watch TV. I was a shopaholic. I was dopamine seeking. Give me that next hit. because if I'm doing that, I'm not focusing on being still, being quiet, being connected to my feelings, myself. So all of those things had to go. So I'm now almost 3 years sober.
Amazing.
I hired
Well done.
thank you. I
Wow.
hired a nutritionist to heal my body from the inside out. Like, I was so freaking intentional, and having, like, I'm undiagnosed but self-diagnosed ADHD. It was like
Do you know,
Project Sarah.
same. And do you know, as you were talking, that did occur to me that sounds like a lot of the dopamine seeking that,
Yeah,
you know, I've had experience with as well.
Mm.
yeah.
Sorry, classic ADHD
Yeah.
interruption there. Do
Yeah,
go on,
it's
Sarah.
I love that.
hey,
Just hold the
one
thought.
ADHD sister to another. It's all good. It's all good. I'm happy with an interruption because it's normally
That's
how
funny.
I am. But all of this, all of this
Hmm.
literally was me writing down every part of my life, putting it under the microscope and going, is it serving me? Yes or no? Is it keeping me trapped in old Sarah? Yes or no? And it was literally, it's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. And I was that freaking determined. And my goodness, like, I didn't do this on my own. I hired experts. I hired a nutritionist, because I was like, I had bulimia when I was growing. I had so many old habits that I knew I wouldn't be able to break these cycles on my own. So I needed someone, and it was either you do this in 6 weeks or 6 months. And I was like, look, these are deep learnings. I need someone to hold my hand. And it was a weekly meeting, and it was tearing up everything I'd ever eaten, drunk, known in my life. But it was the most liberating, because within 6 weeks I felt like a completely different woman. And then when you take away and you strip out all of these numbing, like, what happens? You start feeling. So it was like a tsunami of, like, realization of, like, shame, guilt, you know, beating myself up. How could you have let your kids live with him 50% of the time? You
Yeah.
should have fought harder. Like, all of this noise of keeping me, like, hating myself. Me hating myself is not going to create a mum that those girls need. It's not creating a human being that this planet needs. So I went in a container with a Reiki healer for a year. Like, everything I did was big. It was like, right, I could hire and go in to do one Reiki session, like, every month, one a month. And it was like, no. I don't know how much longer I've got on this planet, but if I'm showing up and I'm turning up, I'm doing it big. Again, ADHD.
I'm sitting there going, uh-huh.
But in a way, and I remember my Reiki healer sitting with me, and she's like, so let me just say back to you. So you're hiring me for a year, you're going sober, you've hired a nutritionist, la la la. And I'm like, yeah, that's normal, right? She's like, in Sarah's world, maybe. But I was like, but in a way, it so worked to my advantage. And I knew to create this transformation, I had to do it that way. Now, I know that is not going to work for everybody at all. And I totally get it. But there are ways of doing things, like in a micro or a more kind of considered, maybe smaller way, for sure. But I know me, and that's just the way I operate. And it really has created the version of me that you see today, where now you will not find me doing 100 burpees. You'll find me hugging a tree. You'll find me forest bathing. You'll find me smudging. You'll find me with crystals. And honestly, it's like the biggest awakening that I have ever felt in my life. And I am on the, I'm scratching the surface, really. I am scratching the surface of my spiritual potential. And it's really fast. It's not even about fast tracking. It's really allowed me to go even deeper with my healing. It really has. So, they're just some of the things that I've been doing, ladies, over the past 5 years.
You've been busy. I went to the gym today, but I don't think I can get all that. Everything you've done sort of packed in.
And I relate to the do get something and go for it. It's like the whole hyper focus thing of like, I am going to rebuild myself and I'm going to do it all at once. But yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
And,
But
and
I,
I
but
and
I
I
think I
think
like what you said though, Sarah. I liked what you said about like what like how because it's not for everyone. I like the fact that you said it's not for everyone. Do everything together. It's not for everyone. And I think that's always good to know yourself in how you deal with things because then okay, even if I go all out, I will find a way to make this work. For some people, they need to like 6 months doing this, maybe take a break, and 6 months doing that. So I think it's so important to know
absolutely.
yourself in that
Yeah.
process of
And
healing.
and honestly, the spiritual side of things, and again, Alex, you might relate to this because you're probably fizzy, buzzy like me all the time. And
I'm looking at Tiffany while you're saying that, thinking she's like sometimes has to pull me back from. But what about if we do this next?
Well,
yes.
let's do this
Just
now. We need
So,
to
calm it
finish
down.
this.
so learning to sit in stillness. I honestly first really interacted with these modalities probably 10 or so years ago, and I have rejected them. Sitting is weakness, being slow doing yoga, weakness. Why do that when I can do 100 burpees and all of these things? So it has been one of the most challenging strands to this all has been the slowing down side of me, because my comfort zone is being fast, high achiever, smashing life, chasing that dopamine hit, whether that's putting something on Instagram and, oh, how many likes can I get? I want interaction, all of those things. I've really had to be, I don't want to say strict because that sounds like the opposite of what I'm trying to do, but learning to sit in my own company, to go for walks on my own without podcasts or being distracted. All of these things have taken time. So what I don't want to do is give this false impression that I flipped a switch and these things happened. They really didn't. But that's why I hired somebody as well and had my Reiki healer, because I needed someone to anchor and ground me. And some days I would arrive at her studio, she would take one look at me and she'd be like, we're not even going to talk today. I'm just going to do Reiki on you, because I was so fucking highly strung. I was so up here, like so up in the air, that I needed someone to just freaking ground me. And it's taken years and years of consistency and showing up. And that's the message I want to give, is the change that we want to create is totally in our hands. It totally is. But does it take an acknowledgement of what needs to change? Yes, you need to start with awareness, but then it's about how do you do those daily practices, but also building compassion and kindness for the days when you can't do it. And that's what I've had to learn. Again, going back to ADHD, I'm not very good at self-compassion, and I'm not very good at I haven't achieved moments. So if I can take that off me and just be like, do you know what? I'm going to have days when I just can't sit. I'm too fizzy. But tomorrow might be a great day when I can do an hour. And that's okay. And that's the human experience. And that self-compassion and kindness has meant that I'm able to extend that to other people. So, yeah.
Wow, that is so. There's so much there, isn't there?
Yeah, and so you did all of that healing work, but you also set up your business as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So,
how did that work in kind of, did it work in tandem with your healing journey?
yeah, I think in a way. So I started my first company, which was a marketing agency, on maternity leave with when Isla was born. So that's my second child. And ultimately, I did that to create financial stability and independence so that I could flee. I could leave, and I knew that I would be able to pay rent and be able to do everything that I needed to do. And that really was me. And I built it to a team of 9, and we had clients here, there, and everywhere. And I loved it for a time. But honestly, I was mimicking so much masculine energy. I was turning up as what I thought a boss should look like. I created an agency that I thought my peers and men would, respect me if I hired somebody. And I played into all of those things. And actually, over the years, that really ground me down because I wasn't truly being who I wanted to be. So I set up 6 Degrees initially, the community, as a kind of, I need this. No one else is doing it where I live. I can't find it. Or even if I go to London and join these female networks, they're like thousands of pounds. I can't access them. They're hours away. I've got kids, you know, there was like block. Or I found these other female communities to actually be almost recreating the masculine energy that I was trying to escape. So I was like, So I think it was one of those build it and they will come. And is it just me that wants this? So I created 6 Degrees, and initially it was literally a wine bar, and I offered champagne and pizza. I was like, yeah, I want the
I'll
champagne
come.
because it feels fancy. I want to keep it humble.
Sounds like
and
some of
keep
our
it
play
real.
dates.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Yes.
I was like, I want to keep it real and have the pizza. So it's like, let's not get too above our station. Let's keep it fun. And it was like 20 or 30 women turned up. They loved it. And it gave me that, okay, it's not just me. And it kept building. And one of the things that I found was I was then meeting, because I created the space, I was meeting incredible women that had overcome adversity, like breast cancer, career pivots, like you name it. I was meeting these women, but the common theme was these women, when I would talk to them, I'd be like, you're incredible. Please, would you speak an event? And the first thing they would say is, why me? I don't have anything to say. I don't have a story. And I was like, what? You're inspiring me. Please, would you take? And I would have to sit with them and almost coach them through their speech. They would stand there and give it, and then the room would just be incredible because it was real women sharing their stories. They weren't necessarily perfect speeches, but that was almost the beauty of it. It was like, that was the grittiness, the realness of like, this isn't a hired and trained speaker. This is a woman like you that works from home, the XYZ, that is having the courage to stand and share her story. So that built some momentum. Then COVID hit. So that wiped everything for me because I didn't have a big enough community. And honestly, everything that was going on, I couldn't have shown up online and pretended to have everything together. I just couldn't. Everything, my whole energy and attention went into keeping my agency going enough to pay my bills, keep a roof over my head, and recover, like for me and the children to recover during those times. Then post-COVID, reignited 6 Degrees. I couldn't let it go. It was like this thing of like, oh, it just lights me up. I feel amazing when I'm creating this community. And then was like, look, if I'm creating this stuff in the West Country and women are loving it, why don't I just have something online? You know, that ADHD again? Yeah, why don't I just
Completely.
Why don't I just create this online community? Not that I've ever done anything like this before, but this feels like a good thing to do. And then before I knew it, I had a platform. I was launching memberships, and then I was hosting full day events that was like Radiate, which is a wellness festival. We had like 500 registrations. I did the same for business owners. And it was about being led with intuition and really tapping into, what do I feel women want? What do I want? So to your point, all of this healing, all of this understanding of the neurospiciness in our house, and my eldest was diagnosed at around the same time for autism, and Isla for PTSD, and all of these various things. I was just bringing together that rich lived experience and saying, hey, community, I've been doing these things. And then women going, oh my God, I'm interested in that, or me too, or whatever it is. And just then creating workshops. We've now got 70 workshops, from breath work to somatic healing through to how to create an authentic LinkedIn profile. There really is something for everybody, because for me, I didn't want to be compartmentalized. I want a community that sees me as the rich, interesting, diverse human being that I am. Don't put me in, oh, I'm a business owner, therefore I'll only be interested in LinkedIn. No, you know what? I'm also dealing with kids that are dealing with trauma. I need to be okay. And I want workshops that reflect the whole woman. So yeah, that's what I created, and then just recently closed the agency entirely because it was like my passion and calling is to build this global community. I'm not going to do that if I've got one foot over in the marketing agency and one foot in community. So that's just closed, and this has given me the ability to really now focus on building something really transformational. And again, I'm just leading with intuition, with heart, with soul, and with a wild ambition to create something that the world has never seen before.
Wow. I think I love that. And I think, I'm going to come back to that in a second, because I think it sounds to me like what you're doing is you're making this pivot, but it really comes from your core, like who you are. And that's what makes it make sense for you. But I also want to kind of summarize a couple
Absolutely.
of things, because you've said so much that's just really like, really touching me. I loved what you said about the changing the course of generational kind of trauma, because I mean, especially with having two children who are girls, that must have been quite significant for you in terms of, because I always think sometimes the more intentional we are, like for me especially, I want to break the dam from certain things that have been coming down my family, especially for my children. But also, I liked what you said about this idea of the solitude, the silence, because I think, we live in a society that just kind of encourages us to, always be moving, always be doing, always be listening. I mean, how many podcasts are out there? And sometimes, I think, do we need to have another podcast, even though we're podcasting? Because I think, there's so much you can get from listening and learning, but there is also so much you can get from the silence and the discomfort of being by yourself, and kind of allowing yourself to figure out, who you are, what's important. Because when you go on that journey, I think it really grounds you. Because I think it's the work you've done there that allows you to know you, Sarah, and be comfortable with, closing the agency, and, being okay with the fact that it's not for you anymore, rather than holding on to it and, kind of being confused. But I really think it's this
Yeah.
feminine energy, confident energy that you have that's allowing you to make those moves. And I just think that's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. And again, that was a process. There were moments my
Yeah.
ego was so triggered by like letting that agency go. What would people think? I built
Think.
it up and la la la. And obviously that agency was my lifeline, right? That was
Yeah.
my ticket out. So there was so much like emotion tied to that. And it was such a big part of my identity that it was almost like I wrote a love letter to the agency and to my life to kind of like, and like burn it in a ritual, because it was like, I need to mark this. Like that was huge for me, stepping out on my own to gain financial independence. And like every client that hired me, every person that worked in my agency was part of that richness of freedom for me. So and going back to that, doing it in a feminine energy way, I was able to ritualize the letting go of that once served me, but that isn't what's going to serve me moving into the next era. And to your point, what was so brilliant was being able to understand my purpose. And I think it was having it reflected back to me, like my partner saying to me, you know what, I've noticed when you're talking about 6 degrees, you are so animated, you're glowing, you're smiling, you're so happy. Not so much when you talk about the agency, Sarah. And I was like, is it that obvious? And it was like, okay, fine. And then it's like, okay, so what is that? I need to sit with that. And am I brave enough to close that door and to
Wow.
really fully step into something so new, uncharted territory? Yeah, I've run a business before, but I've never run a community. And the leap as well was when I was running the agency, I was shining a light on my clients, right? I was doing their PR, I was pushing them forward. Now I had to freaking step into the arena, and I was the host, and I was in front of everybody, and I was the one holding the mic. Whereas before, my clients were doing that, and I was in the background, like doing the videos. So that was a huge thing for me, being able to step into that. But you're right, having that North Star, sitting in with what's my purpose and what was my passion, really guided me. And in terms of like the generational trauma, honestly, I think I shared with you, Tiffany, when we spoke a few months ago, one of the single most gorgeous things that has ever come out of one of my kids' mouths was when we were on a walk and she said to me, you know what, Mum, I really feel that we're in a place where we're ending this generational trauma and patterning. And I was just like, oh my God, just in floods of tears. But it's taken us all doing the work. So whilst I am sharing my story, my goodness, my girls have been on an equally big transformation too. And I am proud of what we've built together. But honestly, they have been my biggest teachers and guides too. Like, honestly, we've learned from each other in this reciprocal way. And what I guess I wanted to model to them through this, and especially in this like sped up past 5 years, is to show to them, look, it is possible to totally recreate, to reimagine, to dream, to build beyond what we have known together as a family and what they have known as individuals. And they have a totally different lived experience to me. I can't put my trauma onto them, you know. But them being able, like Isla being able to say that to me, it was just like, whoa, look at what we're co-creating here as a unit. And one of the biggest things for me has been being able to be in a healthy, happy relationship, heterosexual relationship with Dean. He has also been, I want to give kudos to him and for him being a spiritual guide as well, and a guide just generally of being accepted and loved in the way that he has loved me has been so healing, not just for me, but for my girls to learn to trust that a man can love you and accept you for who you are, not try and change you, control you, manipulate you. He has really been like the final piece of the puzzle, because it was so important to me that the girls got to see and experience positive male role models, and they are getting that every single day. He accepts us, warts and all, trauma, relapses, every single part of us he loves and cherishes. And those girls now have the role model that I never had. So I just feel so thankful that we've been able to. But to the point, I had to sit in, how do I allow, or that new pattern to emerge? And honestly, that was one of my biggest struggles, actually, was being in a healthy relationship. And that probably sounds the weirdest thing to say, but I was so comfortable in volatility that when Dean presented himself, it's not like a magic act. He didn't just like, ta-da! But when he presented himself, I was so mistrusting. And he loved me so hard from day one that I tell you what, I wanted to break up with him so bad. I wanted to reject him. I wanted to be like, this is like intoxicating. You know, he'll laugh now. I'd be like, stop looking at me. Why are you looking at me? Why do you sit so close to me? And he's like, oh, do you remember 5 years ago? And now I'm like, Dean, sit closer. You know, so all of those things have been so transformational, and they all make part of, you know, but now the girls are like, Dean's our benchmark. And I'm like, okay, girls, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
That must be such a lovely thing to hear them say as well. And like, when you're saying that, you know, that it was hard to be in a good relationship, I think, you know, that's when you can see those patterns that are so embedded. And I think even if you don't have them yourself, you can see them in other people. You can see them in friends who maybe always go for the same type of guy, and they might recognize that they're not great for them, but they're still drawn back to them. It shows how hard it is to break those patterns.
People get so stuck and they don't realize that they're part of the problem and part of the solution. And that, what I was saying earlier is, you know, I knew I had to change. But honestly, like Dean's level of patience and his words to me were like, I will show up for you every single day. And at some point, whenever that is, you're going to trust this. You're going to trust what we're building. But honestly, it took a very, 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 I'm not talking weeks. It probably took years for me to fully like believe that this is true. And I remember like the first time he told me he loved me was when I was going into one of my court cases, and it was just like the most beautiful timing, because it's like I'm about to go and face, and I had faced every court case on my own, like zero, like I was quite private and wanted to, I'm quite stubborn maybe, and I've always been really independent. Like I will face this on my own. So to have this newness of love and care and just the holding of space that he would create for me was just like, wow, I'm going in to face this demon, this person that's inflicted so much pain. But my God, I'm so lucky because I have this brilliant shining light like wrapped around me for the first time. And it's just been such a rewarding, sounds weird, but I just want to say to anybody, it is totally possible to get unstuck. But
Yeah.
there is so much work that needs to be done, but it's so worth it. If you can show up for your future self and keep going, I'm creating my own legacy here. Like I deserve these things. And if you can keep wedded to that and do the things every single day, or as many days as possible in a week, before long, you've created a tsunami of change that you didn't know was freaking possible. And to your point, if your kids see that, they start to go, hang on a minute, look at mum, she's smashing it, right, well, what can I do? And I've seen that in my girls, like they are saying things out into the universe that I'm like, fucking go, like, wow, I can't believe you're saying this stuff, yeah, let's go. So it's just the ripple effect is incredible. So if you can't find the want and desire, maybe you're not there from a self-worth perspective for yourself, freaking do it for your kids, do it for your partner. Like if that's the motivation you need, find whatever it is that motivates you and freaking honor that and show up every day for that.
I thought of a quote that I learned a while ago and I really liked. It said, if you know better, you will do better. You will do better if you choose better. So to me, it sounds like you're making better choices, and that's changing your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I also love what you said about vulnerability, this idea of knowing that you can be strong, but you can let love in and you can give someone a second chance. Because I think that sometimes can be the hardest thing, especially if you've been hurt before. And showing your daughters that's something that is possible. I think that's really beautiful. I think that teaches them. Yeah.
And talking about it, like the girls will be like, oh God, like there isn't a subject that is
Okay.
off limits in this house. And, I speak very freely with the girls about, when they were struggling to trust Dean, I was like, girls, I'm with you. Like, I
Yeah.
feel exactly the same. This is scary shit. This is scary. This is new for all of us. But we just got to be honest and be patient, and we can't rush those feelings. They will come when they come. And like the girls now, honestly, it's hilarious. They're like his protector, they're like, they stick up for Dean. I'm like, what about me? But that's testament to all of us, and everybody has played their part in this newness. So yeah, just to anyone that's listening, just back yourself and just keep going.
And what would you say to the you 5 years ago? Let's get deep, seeing as it's
Yeah.
5 years since.
Yeah.
What would I say to myself? You have no idea the depths you will go to and the depths of your character that you will uncover and that your children will uncover. I feel, I think it's Michelle Obama, the becoming, that word. I feel like it's a becoming, it's an awakening, it's a remembering of who I truly am. Like my trauma is from a very young girl. So it's like there's not even a reinvention. I am becoming the person I was always meant to be, that had become so like oppressed, or, all these different layers of expectations, society, myself, my ADHD, like all these labels that I'm like, and it's not even breaking free in a dramatic, explosive sense. It's almost like I've been taking each one off, going, okay, I'm going to look at this. Nice to meet you. Okay. What do we need to say to that piece? And then the next piece, and with love and care, and gone, okay, and here I am. And I'm scratching the surface, like my personal development, my journey, my awakening. I can't wait to be hopefully chatting in another 5 years, because it's like, I feel like I'm scratching the surface. So what would I say to myself? I'd probably say, well done, sir.
Yeah.
Like,
Love it.
well done.
Yeah.
And and I think there's so many women that don't pat themselves on the back, that don't give themselves the acknowledgement and the praise. I've turned up every day. I've turned up for my kids when I've been on my knees. I've also given love to myself when I haven't been able to show up for them. When I've been like, girls, I'm going to me today. You're going to have to self-soothe because mama's done. Like, I'm done. I need to just lie in bed. And I've had to love those parts of me that I have shamed. And yeah, and I'm proud of what we've created as a family and a blended family. And I'm freaking proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself.
Oh, you should be.
Yeah,
Sarah.
absolutely.
I think you've it's that, because sometimes, especially as women, we're taught to be a bit like, humble, and sometimes it's hard to actually say to yourself, well done, and look in yourself mirror and say, like, I've gone on this journey, I'm here now. I'd love to hear where you are in terms of your ambition. How does that look like now? Especially when you've gone from like survival mode to thriving. I'd love to hear where you're at with it.
Oh my goodness. So I am a point in my life. I think closing the agency was a significant move and was such a kind of pivotal, huge moment in terms of sending a signal to the universe and to myself, like, I am all in to this community that I'm building. And honestly, I don't know if it's going to sound weird to people, but I just have this, every fiber of my being, there is this innate pulsing energy of knowing that this will be a transformational global community that will create transformation and change for women, but also for the charities that we're involved in. The causes that I'm passionate about will be 10x'd because I'm really stepping into advocating for women who have been through, and families who've been through similar things for me. So my ambition is to be on a global stage talking about these things, to create a huge movement and to stop this narrative or this quietening of what the reality is of how many women and go through what I've been through. I want to talk about that. I want to show up daily for those causes. I also really this is going to be global. This is going to be in every city, is my belief, or as many cities as possible across the globe. And just create this tsunami of change for women to put themselves front and center, to say out loud what they want, and to be surrounded by a sisterhood that's like, I've got you, we're going to do this together. And then what we have is, we have 2 charities that we give to. It won't surprise you. One of them is domestic abuse and one is for period poverty. And it's just to create this real purpose-driven ecosystem where women are saying, I see you, I'm donating to you, I'm giving to, like, every membership already gives to charity from the get-go. There's mentoring, there's just this real nurturing community of women seeing other women and wanting to support. And I just want that on a global basis. And for it to be inclusive, the things that stopped me really kind of reaching my potential has been, if you're not in a big city or hub, where do you go for this support? So if it's online and we want the hybrids, at the moment we operate in London, Bristol, Exeter and Cornwall. Well, imagine if you then had a hub that you could go to for co-working, for work, like in-person workshops, for coffee mornings, for walks, for sea swims, fucking rollerblading, whatever it is. we are such a lonely society. And then when you think about women and the load and everything that we take on, what if you could carve out an hour a week for yourself, for your ambition, for your growth, for your community, to eradicate loneliness or to at least dampen loneliness? That's the ambition. So I'm seeking funding. We already have one angel investor, female angel investor. I'm looking to build my team. I'm looking to really amplify this on a national basis. We're looking for sponsorship and partnership. We already have a number of partners. We are going to host even bigger events online. We're going to host even bigger events in person. I'm on a mission. This is disruptive in the best possible sense.
That's actually getting me excited for you.
and also going back to like the cause, when we think about, when I say those words, I was one of the lucky ones. I was one of the lucky ones because he didn't kill me. I was one of the lucky ones because I had financial stability. I was one of the lucky ones I could afford legal representation. What I'm creating within 6 Degrees is another hub for trauma, for women to go who have been through stuff like me, where we're going to have lawyers talking in layperson's terms, giving advice. I have trauma-informed therapists that are like Sarah. I want to gift a 6-week course. What I want is to create a hub for women to go to where they have free resources, because we need to be talking about trauma on a daily basis. We need to be acknowledging what women are living through on multiple levels. And what I want is a community that doesn't make it shameful, that doesn't say you can only talk about business, you can only talk about your kids, you can only talk about this. Like, fuck that. We want to talk about what is truly happening to women on a global scale. But we're not just going to talk about it, we're then going to say, and here's a freaking toolkit. Like, you say you want therapy, you say you want change, go into that hub. You're going to have everything that you possibly need. And then we're going to have women. And if you are entering it as someone that's recovering from domestic abuse, we're going to have women who are going to want to mentor you. We're going to have a place where people can help you create a CV. We're going to have businesses that are actively domestic abuse positive environments that are saying they want to hire women that are going through trauma. But this community, just to reiterate, is for every person. It's not just for people who've been through domestic abuse. I want to make that really clear, because when I start talking about domestic abuse, people start thinking, oh, is it just for women who've been through domestic abuse? It's not. But there will be a particular ecosystem for those women, because it's a cause that's so close to my heart. So there isn't a lack of ambition here, let's just say.
There's definitely not. I love
Alex
it.
is like, I'm exhausted. She's exhausted me. I need to lie down.
No, but I think it's really cool. And I think I love that you said about the ecosystem, because I think we are multidimensional human beings. You know, if we're having something in our private life that isn't great, it affects business. So it's not as if we can just show up as this robotic, get to work type of people. And I think that's some... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know, and that's what I want to talk about, right? It's like, when I've been to like networking or communities, I'm like, oh God, I don't know, it's because I've been on all this healing. I'm like, I want something deeper. Like, I want to bring all of me.
You just saw that meet someone for the first time and go, tell me, what do you think about life? Rather than saying, oh, let's talk about the weather.
Yeah, exactly. I think there are so many women. Like, I do think there is a cosmic and planetary awakening of the divine feminine. And I think we're done with small talk. We're done with pleasantries. And I think, and I don't know whether COVID has accelerated some of this for us, because we become way more disconnected. Like, so many of us work from home. And I think there's a real freaking craving. We're on a precipice of like something really special is happening. Like, even the podcast that I listen to, how Davina McCall's talking, how Mel Robbins is talking, what Oprah Winfrey's been saying for years, Michelle Obama, like this whole, there is just this huge, deeply moving thing that's happening in women right now. And it's freaking exciting.
Wow, it does sound very exciting. I know there was something I wanted to touch on before we obviously wrap up. We spoke about the technology side of things, right? Especially with your children, where you stand. I know it's a big topic. We might have to do another episode, but it just came to my mind. I totally forgot to even put it. It wasn't even on the notes. But just because I think we spoke about this a bit with technology, children, social media. some people like no screen, smartphones, still 16. Everyone has their own opinions, but I'd love to hear, I think, for someone who has a 2 and 4 year old, kind of where you're at with your family practice around technology and how you guys sort of find some sort of a balance or where you stand on it.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to, I think, when I was saying about dissecting every pillar of my life,
Yeah.
Technology, and that has been up there, like the addiction of having my phone with me all the time, and going back to ADHD. And I really think it feeds into our propensity for anxiety inducing, having that constant, I've got to check Instagram, I've got to check my emails, I've got to check WhatsApp, I'm in another WhatsApp group. All of that just feeds that depletion of dopamine and cortisol and all of those things. So as a family, we really have had to sit with that, because we've had, when COVID hit, I will admit, those girls, I daren't even think about how many hours they were spending online, because honestly, it was a
It was
lifesaver.
COVID though. Like, what are you going to do?
But that's where these like bad habits or unhealthy habits really were created. So you went from like this almost codependency of having technology with us all of the time. And so to unravel that, the answer is, we realized that it was very unhealthy within our family, and that there was something fundamentally wrong, and we became quite disconnected. And this was when we were more of a blended family. So we have got the 18-year-old, 15-year-old, a 12, 7, and then obviously Dean and I. So backtrack a few years, we realised that the girls were always in their rooms. Then Max and Millie would be on tech. And actually we weren't talking, we weren't interacting. People were, and us included, fiery, less patient. Mental health wasn't particularly in a good place, and it just took us really kind of saying, what are we going to do about this? And I think the conversation was starting more online as well about the effects, because I think up until this point, like, we didn't really know what smartphones were doing to us. So that kind of kickstarted a real kind of appreciation of, what are we going to do about this addiction to technology? And we put some pretty revolutionary things in place, where Max and Millie had everything like taken away. So their iPads, their phone, and they were really young, right? This was like 2 years ago. So we kind of sat down with Katie, so their mum, and said, look, we've got some concerns. And, Katie was like, totally, I'm down for this as well. I think this is affecting the kids. So we were really lucky that Katie wasn't like, no, I'm going to still have it in my house. So it was very much a family meeting, and we involved the kids, and we sat down together and we spoke about our reasons why. And honestly, Max and Millie now, if we said to the Max and Millie now, you could have your iPads back, they wouldn't want them back. They've told us that. Like, we've discussed it. They are like, we love it. We play family games. I don't want to sound like the Waltons. We play family games. But we really do. We play chess. Like, we really do interact.
Oh, sorry, you've muted, Sarah. I don't know why. No, not sure what's going on. Maybe your phone's connected or something to the Bluetooth. Trust something to go wrong. I'm ambition, guys. We was expecting.
Is that
Headphones
better?
come out.
Oh,
there
that's
we
better.
go.
Yay. Woohoo.
Yeah, sorry. So we really had to look at this, for the younger kids, but also the teenagers. You can imagine that was a different type of conversation.
I was going to say, that sounds like the harder battle.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm so glad that we were brave enough, and we had to like put parameters in, like screen times. They have to ask permission to download an app, like all of those things. But honestly, the biggest reward, and I think I share this with you, Tiffany, was again saying to the girls, look, you could have that lifted. And Isla was like, no, I am a different person. Her grades have gone up at school, her concentration, her mental health, her hobbies. She's now like playing the piano, she's baking, she really has transformed. So for her to say, oh my goodness, mum, I hadn't realized what it was doing to me until having it stripped away. And trust me, like, there were battles. This wasn't plain, it was never going to be plain sailing. But now Isla in particular is the biggest advocate. Like, she talks about it with her friends, because now, you know what it's like when you don't have something, you see it everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
So now she's seeing all of her friends are like addicted to Snapchat, Instagram, blah, 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 all of those things. And don't get me wrong, Isla is now on Instagram, and we had a very, sit down conversation. And then she came to me and was like, Mum, I need you to put a limit. I need you to put a limit on Instagram. I thought I could handle it. I can't. It is addictive. Please put a limit. Cool. What do you want that limit to be?
Wow.
20 minutes. Right. Cool. And that's it. And I think there's an empowerment piece, and allowing her to discover how quickly it could become addiction again. And then for her to put the brakes on, I was like, you know what? Fair play. That's amazing that you've realized this is turning from healthy to unhealthy. So yeah, it was a really hot topic, as you can imagine, but we did it with the kids, right? We were like, we need to do this too. This isn't just a child issue. This is something that we are still working on ourselves. Do we have it 100% right? No, we don't. But do we work on it, and do we talk about it as a family? Absolutely. And have the benefits been incredible? Yes, they bloody have.
And that sounds like really crucial to it, to like bringing them along with you rather than imposing it, and, them seeing it as you taking something away from them. And, like you say, I think you've got to model it as well, haven't you? Because when you get on a bus these days, and no one even looks at you when you get on the bus, because they're like so invested in scrolling on their phone. And I'm as guilty of it as everyone else, but they've got to see adults doing it as well. Otherwise, it just feels totally hypocritical.
And look, they call us out, right? They call me out. If I'm on it, they'll be like, Mum, and I can't get annoyed. I'm like, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I would say one of my, not final pillars, I'm sure there's going to be many more things, but I would say that's the biggest thing that I want to work on is my addiction still to my phone. I am not 100% solved on that. I take it everywhere. Why is it in the loo with me? Like, what do I possibly need this for? I am glued to it. So it's not that I am completely fixed on this. I'm not. But have we made huge inroads? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's what I like is the values, and I think it's kind of looking at your family and thinking, we're a family. Do we want to be together more, and not just be together, but do you want to connect more? Do you want our children to know that there's value in being together? And that's why I'm like, obviously there's still 2 and 4, so I don't know what the future brings with phones. But I've also thought, oh yeah, no smartphone to your 16 kids. It sounds nice now, but I do think for me, it's what I've noticed about our children. Like, for example, our kids watch TV a lot, but I am conscious about, for example, my thing is that once we leave the house, we don't have a screen. So that's our policy, and it's working out well, because what I've noticed is they're just very interested in the world. Like, my kids will ask anyone a question. They'll go up to anyone and say, "What's your name?" And they will just notice things. And my son will observe things that I didn't even saw. Who's that woman and what's she wearing? And what I've noticed is that sort of curiosity. So in not having those screens outside of the house, even though they watch a lot of TV in the house, I've just noticed that it's allowing them to first connect with the world. And I think I want them to do that first before then discovering online. And they can hopefully learn that online is like it adds to it. It doesn't replace what we're doing in the real world. Speak with your grandparents, look them in the eye, that sort of thing.
And I would say as well, it's about the reframe of like, what's it giving to you rather than taking away. And like last summer, Isla read 13 books.
Wow.
And she's like, oh, Ma, I would not have done that. I would not have done that. And even like going back to relationships, like, honestly, the relationship that I have with both of my kids now, I know is way healthier and better and stronger, because we're not on our phones. We're not on separate screens in our rooms. We are together more. We're laughing more. We're connecting more. Like, I was like, oh, Mum, I'm always in the lounge. I'm always hanging out with you and Dean and the kids. And I'm like, yeah, I love it, because actually I'm going to blink and you'll be gone. And I want memories, not, oh yeah, my memory of my kids was that they were heads into their phones. Like, that's not who I want to be and what I want to create. So yeah.
Thank you for inspiring us all, eh? Wish us luck for the next few years.
Yeah, good luck, ladies. Good luck.
I'm really hoping, Tiffany, when you were saying there about like no smartphones until they're 16, I'm really hoping that there is more coming in terms of like government legislation around social media and stuff like that, because I think if you're the only ones doing it, then that's hard. If the people who are the outliers are the ones who are sort of circumventing and allowing their kids onto social media, then they're the odd one out, and they're not. Your kids aren't the ones that feel like they've lost out on something.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, what I do is when I drop my son off to nursery, I'm looking around because he's going to the reception of the school. I've started looking around the queue thinking, who looks reasonable here? Who's going to be a reasonable parent so I can talk to them, be like, hey, are you not going to do phones? Can we do it together? Like, I'm noticing the ones that I think...
You need the allies.
No, what you do, the inner circle. And I think even sometimes we had a play at the park and I was kind of bringing it up with one of the parents. I've been thinking, calm down. There are only 4. I was like, if I know now where you stand, we can I think
we can be friends.
Conversation. We can be friends. We can say, okay, your friend, if your best friend doesn't have a phone, what do you need a phone for? I do think there is strength in numbers. So just keeping an eye out on who's out there. Oh, Sarah, this has been amazing. Where can people find... Oh, I don't know if Alex had any more questions. I don't want to...
No, I was just going to go into the where can people find you?
If you want to be found.
Well, yeah, first, I hope I haven't exhausted everybody. I know my... I can get a bit...
We love it. We love it. I love it.
So you can find me on Instagram.
Bet you feel bad about saying that now. You can find me on Instagram.
Make conscious choices.
Consciously find you.
So you can find me on @6degrees community. And also I have a personal, I am Sarah Jepson, _Sarah Jepson, which you'll find me really speaking a lot about my personal transformation. So if you're looking for more info on like forest bathing or just anything like that, then please do reach out and DM me. I would love to speak to anybody, and just that would be great. And then also we have our website, which is 6degrees-group.com, and then we're on LinkedIn as well, so you can just find me on there. But I would honestly love to hear from as many people as possible, and just keep the conversations going, and to thank both of you for creating this space and on such a truly momentous day. This feels such a great way and a significant way to mark it. So thank you for holding the space for me today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Please like and subscribe. Smash that like button, please.
Smash it.
5-star reviews.
See you soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.